Welcome to the National Black Leadership and Empowerment Project. Today we bring to you our first episode of our Let's Talk About It series. Today's topic is a conversation with the reluctant voter. Also, we'll just keep in mind that this is non-confrontational. We just want to kind of exchange views and just have an open and adult conversation about, where we are and what we're all feeling. So it's a safe space to be honest, but let's kind of make sure we're respectful. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to have Lena. She's going to moderate for this evening.
So first, I'd just like to welcome everyone and thank you all for being here. Tonight, we're going to have a candid conversation about the 2020 election, the presidential election. So let's just get right into it. Let's first talk about Kamala Harris and her record as a district attorney and attorney general in California. Serena, what do you feel about Kamala Harris?
Kamala, honestly, I kind of tuned her out. She wasn't really somebody I was really interested in. What really turned me off from her was hearing her laugh when she was talking about imprisonment of Black males over marijuana, and them asking her if she smoked or she used marijuana, and how did she feel about sending people to jail for something she used, and she kind of just laughed it off. I didn't like her response. So after that, I kind of turned a little like blind eye to her. I didn't really pay much attention to her.
Justin, you want to weigh in on this?
I'm honestly waiting for the debate. It's really hard right now to kind of get information about where they stand, where their platform is. I've heard about I think it's ridiculous, especially if you look at the first-time offenders. That's not something to be proud of, but I'm honestly waiting for the debates. I want to see what they have to offer us. And I mean, for, the generation, our generation, I'm waiting for that. It's hard to see it now, especially the age difference. I've heard about Biden as well, his platform, his track record. And that's what really kind of concerns me the most is, what are they going to do to better America for our generations after us?
And I know that a lot of, for my generation, millennials, a lot of my friends and associates, we talked about how Joe Biden, before he picked, had to pick a Black woman as his VP. And I agreed with that totally. And then after he picked a Black woman in Kamala Harris, the question kind of was posed, is Kamala Harris now Black enough? And so I think now that they're questioning her Blackness. What do you all think about that? Because for me personally, I think, that's somewhat problematic to even question. But what do you all think?
Excuse my language. Let me see, is my mic on? Yeah. Excuse my language about it, but I think it's utter bullshit. Like, I don't think that they get to determine how Black she is. I feel like you can't tell a Black woman you're not Black enough to be vice president. What does that mean?
And I think she definitely can't be penalized for her ambition, mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that was one of definitely the topics that came up. If she were chosen as VP, would she immediately start thinking about becoming president rather than being the vice president? But let's jump on now to talk about Joe Biden's voting record as a senator and his track record. So because he's the main name on the ticket. So we definitely need to talk about him. Do we believe that is step one of voting for Joe Biden to get Donald Trump out of office? Do we believe that is step one of moving in the right direction?
Yes and no. Getting Trump out the office is key. The way Trump is leading us is a very bad ending. Now, on the other hand, what is Biden going to do for us? If you look back to his crime bill, I believe in '94, that's even before I was born, but that still has effect on us to this day.
Yeah.
So what I really want to see is that removed. I want to see that removed. I want to see some of these first-time drug offenders, some of the minorities with, less than criminal records released. I want to see I want to see actual change. So the first thing I want to see is that crime bill removed.
Yeah. I remember after George Floyd's murder, I rewatched the 13th documentary on Netflix by Ava DuVernay. And I remember watching that, and there's a section, of course, in the documentary about Joe Biden, where it highlights Joe Biden in that bill that you just mentioned. And I remember feeling some type of way, this is what he did to Black men, and now we're supposed to vote for him for president of the United States. So it definitely made me feel some type of way. But do you all believe that an individual can change? Because this is something that he did 20, 30 years ago. So are we going to judge him on the man that he is now? Or are we going to judge him for the man that he was then? What do you all think? Serena?
I feel like that's a tough question because I feel like people's past, your past does determine, especially if it's a repeated thing, it'll give me some information for how you're going to move in the future. As of right now, I'm not sure what exactly he's going to do for us to fix his past. And that's the issue that I'm having. I feel like if he actually does get rid of his crime bill, if he moves for reform of, police, if he moves towards, doing things that'll help benefit our community, then I'm for it. Then you've obviously have changed. Then we can put that to the side because I do believe that people can change. You know what I mean? I believe that there are people that can have, racial views and later on see that they were wrong and move and grow from it. I'm not sure 100% that that's Biden.
Okay. What do you need to hear from him to gain his vote? Or to your vote?
He had, like I said before, he already has it just because of the fact that I feel getting Trump out of office is number one priority. But to make me feel secure, I need a solid written plan for how you're going to change America so that we aren't brutalized as much as we are. It's not, he's a first-time offender and he's Black, so he has 30 years, and he's a 3-time offender, but he's white, and he gets a slap on the wrist and probation.
Biggest thing I want to see also, as well as that remove that crime bill, is also police reform. I shouldn't have to walk out my house in fear that I won't come home. I've seen too many times, and the recent one, Jacob Blake, 7 shots to the back. Regardless of what his intent was or what he was doing in that car, he was unarmed. He was of no threat. His back was turned. You had multiple opportunities to detain him if you needed to feel safe, but 7 shots to the back. George Floyd, next example, 8 minutes, 46 seconds, a knee on his neck, death. We still screaming Breonna Taylor's name. They no-knock warrant in Kentucky, and you unload. You have 3 officers unload on an unarmed sleeping woman. So I want to see change with police. I want to see some of their authority taken away. I don't want to take away the police department. I want them to, let's rework the funds. Let's send some of it to support the police,
All right.
That's what we really need.
I mean, and not just to add on to the list, but there was also just 2 in DC that were killed. A man that was, they put a spit bag over his head and then had him on the ground for over 2 minutes until he suffocated. There was just a teenage boy a few days before that who was shot and killed by police in DC. It's becoming ridiculous, and I don't feel safe. I don't feel my brothers are safe. I don't feel like my father is safe. I don't feel like my family is safe, and that's scary. It could be any one of us at any given time over anything. I mean, and raising a son, that's even scarier. Like, it's terrifying, I feel like, to be Black in America right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like anybody is doing enough to make us feel better, to feel safe and secure in our own homes.
Fred, what do you think? Have you decided on who you're voting for the 2020 presidential election?
Have I?
Yes.
Absolutely. I have decided. And before I get into that, I just want to, I was writing down some thoughts. I just want to put them out there for our 3 young people to think about. Number one, I wanted to put forth that in my experience, you have to be very careful being a one-issue voter. That's a dangerous thing to select a candidate, in my opinion, based on one issue. This is a president's job is to, if you go back to the oath, and this is my second point, the oath that a president takes is to protect and defend the Constitution. That's the major part of his oath. That's when he takes his oath of office. It's a very short oath, and the main part of that oath is that he promises to protect and defend the Constitution. All right. So what does that mean? That means that a president cannot do everything by himself. He does not have all power. He may lead you to believe that, especially the current person who's in office may lead you to believe that he has all power. But if you really look, a president has very little power, actually. The power that he has is the power of the bully pulpit, meaning that when he speaks, he has the audience because of he commands a large audience. But it's just talk. The actual political process is very, very complicated and it's very, very long. And, going back to our days in school, you remember that government is made up of 3 branches. And those 3 branches, the way our Constitution designed it to be, those 3 branches have checks on each other. And they're supposed to, and that's for a reason. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to throw those things out there. And the last point I wanted to make was that usually a moderate message wins elections. If you are extreme left or extreme right, okay, usually you don't do very well in this country, in our elections. And there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. Because our democracy depends on compromise, okay? People, you can't get everything that you want, all right? You may have some very legitimate issues, but this country, by design, is made up of a lot of different people who have a lot of different ideas and a lot of thoughts and a lot of values, and the country is very diverse. The person who lives in the inner city thinks a whole lot different than the person who lives out in the rural area. And they have different values, and they have different needs and or things that they want from their government. So a president has to consider all that when he's running, when the messages that he puts out. And again, he tries to appeal to a good president, in my opinion, tries to appeal to a broad spectrum of the country. He is not going to please everybody all the time. You remember what Lincoln said, you know, you can please some of the people some of the time, but you're not going to please all the people all the time, okay? And our government just wasn't made, our democracy just wasn't made that way. So I wanted to put those ideas out there to our young people on the line, that when you think about who you like or you don't like, you know, you have to sort of try to get a broader perspective of the country, and what people think. And you know, if we have gotten so polarized in our country that we stop listening to other people who don't think like us. You know, we have networks that only portray one view, and I think that we have to be careful about just listening or to one view. Now, I will say this, and this is my last point. To not vote, okay, is to not participate in a right as a citizen of this country. You are giving away your rights to have a voice in this country when you choose not to vote. You may not like who you have to vote for, but to not use that privilege that you've been given is to really, in effect, to really give away your citizenship. And then you have no voice, and you have no right to complain about whoever is in office, okay? But so voting is a very sacred thing that we have in this country as citizens. It's what our democracy depends on. It is not perfect. However, it is important that we exercise that right and that we get ourselves educated on how to vote. If you don't know how to, then it is your responsibility, partly, to figure out and find out how to vote. Now, it's also the responsibility of government to make it as easy as possible, okay, and to educate you on that voting. So that's a long answer to your question. Yes, I do know who I am voting for. That's it.
Can I even add on to that?
Yes, of course.
That everyone on this call, at one point in time in this history of this country, used to be considered as 3/5 of a human being. Okay. You were not even considered to be a full, entitled human being. Okay. We now have that right. And I think it's one of the posts that I posted just last night was that if you did not have the Supreme Court tell you that you are a full embodied American human being person, guess what? You're privileged. We are not that privileged. We have to fight, if not every 4 years, every year, every week, every day, every hour, for our rights, to be counted as humans, to be counted as full-fledged, not 3/5, 5/5 of a human being. And I think this is the way voting for me, since I was first able to do it when I was 18 years old, a long time ago. I stood in line, I made sure I registered. I've never missed a vote, ever, because I am entitled to be a full-fledged human. I am a human being. I am 100%. I should be counted. And that vote is my voice. And unlike my ancestors, who were not considered full-fledged humans, you know, we are, you know, today. It is like the blood through your veins to me, you know, to have that voice and to participate in government. And what someone said earlier about the conferences going on with legislators, et cetera, going on at different and odd times where you can't get there. Oh, I get that. I know that because I'm up in their faces. and I've been fortunate enough to be able to, work as, freelancing here and there and be able to have time to go to different conferences and to talk to different legislators. And you are so right. But I also know there was just as many conferences that I went to with legislators that were at 5:30, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night that you can get to if you look for it. But the thing is, you have to, first of all, get on their mailing lists, get on their conference calls. My state legislator, my city council people, they do have conference calls. It is later on at night sometimes, but whatever you can do to do that. It just a quick look up into your own district. It's worth it to participate because we are no longer 3/5. We're 100%. And yes, I just want to add on.
We are whole
people,
whole human beings,
whole human beings, and should be counted as such.
Yes, I know when I think of Congressman John Lewis, I can't imagine not voting. When I think of all the things that he went through, I just can never miss an election, no matter what. Yeah. And Mr. Ron, what do you think? You have your Remember to Vote behind you. Sir, why do you vote? And who are you voting for?
Well, I'm voting for Biden-Harris ticket. I'm actually voting on straight up and down blue this time. Usually I don't do that, but this time I am. Let's see. The reason I vote is I, like everyone else, echoes that it's one of the freedoms that our ancestors fought for. I'm prior service military, so I fought for this right. And so I exercise my right to vote, and I exercise everyone's right to vote and all their inalienable rights as well. And so I've never missed an election. I vote in local and everything else, so I'm active. And actually, independent, actually. I used to actually be what they call a blue dog Democrat, all right? And so then as the party kind of moved over and everything else, I guess I was called a moderate. And then both parties started to disappoint, so I started going independent, and I vote based on, I heard what Fred said, one issue voter is not good, but I actually am a issue related. If there's a strong enough issue for me and that candidate supports it, I will take that over, even if they have some other things that I'm not so tolerable. Like, for instance, George W. and the second election he had, I actually voted for him over Kerry, all right, because I'm pro-military strong defense. And so that was his thing on there. So that's where I kind of disagree. But in this election, I also vote character, and that also outweighs. So I've actually got rid of friends who actually support Trump. Well, actually 45. That's actually the first time I mentioned his name in probably 2 months, because that means a lot. So not to be long-winded here, but I'm kind of like how Justin, Serena, and a few other echo. I'm not super pleased with my options, but not voting is not an option either. So I'm going to take what I can get, and hopefully, in my hope of hopes, in 3 years, maybe I get 47 as Harris.
That's actually what a lot of people my age think. They think that voting for Biden is pretty much putting Harrison in office and that he won't be there long.
Yeah. So, okay. Because I kind of agree with the younger folks too. I just don't understand how 70 and 80-year-olds are representing the rest of America when they're not, and their policies are leaving a lasting legacy when they're not going to be here. It just doesn't sit well. But
Can I just say, I want to ask the young folks, and I keep saying young folks, I don't know how old you are, but Serena and Justin and and Sean, do you know how many vice presidents actually became presidents in the modern history, let's say since the 60s?
Two.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I could only think of two.
Yeah, you have is it Johnson and Ford.
Well, Ford took over because of impeachment, right? Somebody went to jail.
That still count, though. That still count.
Yeah.
That was by default, but okay.
1 point and 10 points, you win the game.
And who was the other?
Gerald Ford. I'm sorry, Andrew Johnson.
Bush.
I mean, not
H.
Modern era. You know.
George Herbert.
Yeah, George Herbert Walker Bush, right? So I have to say that, you know, it's not automatic when you are a VP and your party wins again that you automatic become, you know, you become the president. It's not that easy go from vice president to president unless the president goes to jail or is assassinated. I just put that out there. So I wouldn't necessarily choose a candidate based on their vice presidential pick if you're hoping that they're going to become the president next. It just, you could be disappointed.
That was my thought process.
Because Gore could have won. If Gore could have won if he carried his home state of Tennessee, and he wouldn't even have to worry about Florida.
Right.
The
Chad thing. So Supreme Court intervened. So
exactly. Things happen.
Well, the thing is, think about the Democratic Party has won the popular vote in almost every election since I've been alive. Okay. It's right. That electoral college, you know, which is a hangover from the slave states.
Right.
And back to slavery, which is problematic. And it's something that I hope one day will be addressed, as long as in the future, close future, near future.
Right.
But the country itself is a more moderate leaning country when you take all of it together. But basically the democratic principles, the overarching general high level democratic principles are kind of what has driven a lot of elections. But as far as the popular vote, but most unfortunately, you know, what happens is we get, and like you said, it's the balance, it's that checks and balances. You get a Congress or you get a Senate, especially like right now, what we're seeing is a Senate that it wants to stop all progress. So whether you have a Biden, whether you have an Obama, the miracle of healthcare even being passed, it was an absolute miracle that it was passed at all, because Mitch McConnell on day one said, my only goal is to stop. That's my only goal. So you have a constant checks and balances, which is why the vote for voting, not just in the presidential elections, but for every single election that comes up, for your state representatives, for your congressional members, Congress, everything is so important because they are your representatives. And if the Senate, and especially such a powerful body like the Senate, where you only get 2 members, you know, everybody gets 2 members. Pennsylvania gets 2 members. North Dakota, which has a fraction of the people that Pennsylvania has, gets still 2 senators. California, which is the 5th largest economy in the planet Earth, whatever, they get 2 members of the Senate. It's such a powerful body, and they have been stopping so much progress right now at this time that even if we had a president like Obama in the office now, you see what I'm saying? That would, it sort of halts things. Okay. It chokes the progress that we need to see. So consider that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, it doesn't even matter because, like, they push the issue so hard come election. Like, it's 3 years before you see anything done. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, that's why I say I want to be more active in it, but like I gotta do my homework on, you know, my statewide who I'm sending there, because these cats sit in the office for what, six years. Like they get comfortable, and it's like I get tired of people getting comfortable with the issues and like, oh, this year we're gonna do this. This year, bro, you been there 6 years and ain't nothing changed. Like that's hard for me to believe like y'all really care about what's going on. Like y'all get behind companies that put bread in y'all pockets, but like then what? Y'all sit back and and keep prolonging everything until it gets time to, either I'm gone up out of here or I got to fight for another chance. And it's like, when I look at Trump, I got to say it, like Trump be official with it. Like he be saying shit that he really be trying to get done. May not be the right shit, but at least you know he's saying it. He gonna try to get it done. Biden, I be feeling like, man, he's so passive, bro. Like, if it wasn't for Obama and Michelle, like, bro, like, where would you have been? Like, you don't strike me as a confident dude. Like, you kind of weak hearted. I don't like that. Cause like I said, like when you weak, other people see that you weak, and they gonna come for your head. See, when he was with Obama was the head. Like it didn't matter what Biden said, cause Obama knew what was going on, so he was gonna push the issue regardless. And okay, what you saying? He gonna say it. He just like Trump. He gonna say it, but he said it in a manner that you couldn't hate him if he said it wrong or not. Like that's why if Biden do get in the office and what's her name? Valera.
Kamala.
Like if they get in the office, like she gonna have to be that head, that second head for Biden, because if people start chewing at him, like she gonna have to step up there too. Like it's a team effort, I guess, if you want to say, because like you said, like they ain't got all the power, but they got enough power that when it's time to sign something and they put their John Hancock down, it's official. So then what? You got to hold that power then. And stop allowing, all the sideways back and forth. Like when y'all put y'all foot down, like that's when America's supposed to be like, bet that's our president. Cuz said that that's our president. We can't fault that. That's our president. That's how we should feel about it. And I don't catch that.
Sean, so do you see Biden's compassion and empathy as a weakness?
Man, I feel like that's just playing. Like it's a game to them. Like when you out here really living life and having to deal with situations, like you look at stuff different. So, man, if I'm getting punked and I need to, look tough, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go get a weapon. Like you gonna see me and fear me. But then it's like with Biden and his if you're not black, I mean you're not black if you don't vote for me type shit. Like, come on, bro, you not black. So why are you even saying shit like that? Like that's pointless to me. So that means you just really trying to get that vote. I need that African American vote. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna portray like African Americans are the number one, and y'all have been treated wrong so long, but you've been there so long and you still haven't done nothing up until this point. Like, bruh, come on now. Trump been in office 3 years, 4 years, and he done a lot.
Yeah.
He done a lot.
Sean, okay. So Sean, so Biden has said he made that statement that upset a lot of people, especially on social media. But, we also have to think about all of the things that 45 has said and continues to say that are extremely racist. His rhetoric is absolutely uncalled for. So we have to balance everything out.
Yeah, I know he be talking.
I mean, you can't really compare it though.
Nah, you can't, but you gotta understand, like, when you official and what you feeling, like, you gonna speak the truth. No matter if it's wrong or right, you gonna speak your truth. Now, if we see that, oh, bro, you a racist type shit, like, bro, we know that, so what are we gonna do about it? We gonna put somebody weak in there? Like, no, bro, we need somebody official. Like, bro, you better step up and start barking back. Like, get off the porch with it. Like, don't, just because so-and-so said this and so-and-so said this, being your mouthpiece, bro, you gotta be the speaker. You feel me? Like, we gotta stand behind you. Like, when Bernie was speaking, like, Bernie spoke that into us. Like, if you caught 30 seconds or the whole hour and a half of his speech, bro, you felt that. Trump the same way. He might have a cheering crowd, but he speaks to that crowd that they feel like, man, I can get behind this dude. If Biden can't do that, then what's the purpose? You feel
So
me?
you're
Like,
saying like, so you're saying like Biden doesn't make you feel what he's saying. Like that's what makes you
no,
feel like he's weak.
It's just a vote. It's
no,
just getting
no,
the vote
no.
to get in the office.
It's getting the vote, getting the office, and sitting there for the next 4 years, until
Yeah.
that last year, you come up and be like, oh, well, I let the Senate and the House of Representatives, argue it out for 3 years, and now I'm going to step up and automatically
Okay.
put my name down. You feel me? Like,
Yeah, I hear what you're
get
saying
out of
now.
here, bro. You're not going to do that to us. Like, if y'all sitting here saying y'all hate Trump for the stuff he does and everything that he stands on, but y'all rather put somebody else in office that's just passive as hell, like, oh, well, I feel like this should be done and this, bro, if you don't stand on that, bro, ain't no change gonna happen. So
Yeah.
get me to that point where I'm gonna stand up with you, bro. You gonna have a nation behind you.
It's hard to vote for someone who doesn't represent you. Biden, yeah, he could say it. He could say, "Oh, I'm with the Black people. I see your pain. I'm with you." But what are you really with us? We all know Trump is a racist. It's out there. But
Come on.
if you look at it, he's speaking to his other races, and they stand with him. That's why he's in office.
Right there. That's why they can sit there every time you bring up the subject, bro. They can sit there and argue with you. They got the energy to argue with you because they know they do gonna back up whatever they saying. They know eventually he gonna come through. But we don't got that.
Question for the young people. I hear you talking about Biden, and you say he's not convincing to you, and you're saying that Trump is convincing. But do you hear what Trump is saying about you?
No, it's
I
not.
don't think
Trump
he's
is
saying
convincing. He's not convincing me. He's not convincing me of
Mhm.
anything. I don't want him in office. But who he speaks to, who he wants them to vote for him, he got the votes. I live in North Carolina. If you drive, it's southern, but you see a lot of Trump and Pence flags all over because he speaks to them. He says what is on his mind that's going to help them. We want the same from Biden. If Biden says, "Hey, look, we're gonna get you out of the gutter. We're gonna get you to where you need to be," and you actually stand on it and you demand it, I could get behind it and say, "Okay,
So
I feel
have you
when
ever
he
heard,
gets in the office."
I'm sorry, have you ever heard the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the phrase
Yeah.
somebody's going to say exactly what they want to say to get what they want? And just because
that's some cult stuff.
and just because someone is speaking loud and bold, that doesn't make them the stronger person. I mean, literally, he is. You heard of dog whistles, right? Everything he's saying to those people who don't want blacks to succeed in this country. So that again is an extension of racism.
We agree with that. I think what we're trying
Yeah.
to say is that we don't believe what he's saying. We don't think he's strong for what he's saying, but he makes his voters believe that he is. And we get that they're drinking the Kool-Aid and it's not real, but we want a candidate that can do the same for us and actually mean it.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but as someone who is definitely going to be voting for Biden and Harris, and sometimes Biden doesn't have to say anything because Trump is saying it all for me. When someone is trying to tell that I am less of a person, less of a human being, that my life doesn't matter, that the future Black children don't matter in this country, he's actually campaigning for anybody who looks like me and who's lived long enough to say, we can't have this man in office because I fear for your children. So sometimes you have to kind of read between the lines and see exactly what's being said. Biden is not saying much because he really doesn't have to. Sometimes you have to let some people shoot themselves in the feet. And I understand. And I understand that younger people like the excitement. They like the excitement of Bernie. Trump is a cheerleader. Trump has had rallies throughout his whole 3.5 years. But you're only supposed to rally when you're running for office. So he's doing that so he can keep those people. It's like going to a football game, a college football game. But this is serious. These are people's lives. We're talking about we're in a pandemic. We're in this pandemic because he refused to recognize it as being a crisis. And now here we are, over 180,000 Americans are dead. Not leading our country. And I'm pretty sure all of us know at least one or two or three people who have died from this, but we're not talking about that. So we really need to take the game mentality out of this, emotion out of this, and think logically, because our lives literally are depending on this. You know, he's not doing his job as president.
Oh, our politicians.
And I agree with that, but I also want to.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
I really want Biden to say what he means. Mm-hmm. I don't want him to let Trump speak for him. We all can agree right here, right now, that Trump isn't for us. Mm-hmm. But is Biden for us? Is Biden speaking up to say, I am for us? Is he going to put that same mentality that Trump did for his people for us?
Well, for myself, as an African-American woman, when he picked an African-American woman to be his VP, that spoke volumes. Every candidate that's ever run for president who's picked a woman as their VP has lost. He picked a Black woman. So for me, that's enough.
But I feel like that's exactly why he picked a Black woman for VP, because people were going to feel that way. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's for us and for empowering us. It just, he knew he was going to get our votes that way. That's kind of how we feel.
Yeah, that's like voting for Obama because he was Black. I mean,
we
that
did
speaks
that.
volume. It speaks volume, but at the same time,
I didn't vote for Obama because he was Black. I voted for Obama because I'm Black. Okay, I voted for Obama not because he was Black. I voted for Obama because I'm Black. And yes, Joe Biden picked Harris. And again, like I said, no other presidential candidate has ever picked a woman and won. He not only picked a woman, he picked a Black woman. So that alienates a lot of the country, not just Trump voters, but he did that. And it's not just, I mean, we have to think along the lines that this is not just a presidential election. We can't sit and complain about people getting shot and shot in the back or having someone sit on their neck, and we don't do anything about electing the sheriffs. Those things are on the local level. So I mean, like Fred said earlier, it's not just about the presidential election. It's about the whole process. How involved are we as a people when there isn't a presidential election, when there isn't a light shined on what's going on? This is a process that doesn't come every 4 years. This is a process that lasts a lifetime. So this may be a start, but we have to continue with this. Once Biden wins, we have to say, okay, this is what we need you to do. And like we're out protesting now, we need to protest with our vote on every level. We need to be involved in school districts. We need to be involved on the local levels, the state levels, because those people, like again, Kamala Harris, she started on the local level, and now she's running for VP. Those are the people that you're going to see, and your kids are going to see 10, 20 years from now. So it's not just a process. We can't complain about the end product when we're not involved in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And here we are with the president now, who's a celebrity, not because he's an excellent politician, not because he has great policy. He's there because he convinced people that the previous Black president, the first Black president, wasn't born in this country. Mm-hmm. And that was how he became famous. Okay, he had an audience, and he's continuing to make that audience happy. So when you're talking about what Trump is doing for his supporters, he's doing it because he's speaking their language. He's speaking hate.
Right.
So we have to think about these things.
But don't you think Biden should be doing the same thing? He should be speaking to, who he is representing or who he wants to represent.
Do you know what Biden's platform is?
I haven't heard much of it.
Okay, so maybe
again, he's very silent.
No, he's not silent. Before you say what he's not doing, you might want to see what he's running on. What is his platform? What are his views? And I think a lot of time, I was speaking with a young person not too long ago, and I asked them, where are you getting your news? And they said they got their news off of Facebook. But sometimes we need to kind of make sure that we're getting all the information. When you hear something that doesn't sound right, research it. You know, I think a lot of times, and I'm just talking about some of the young people that I know, they take something that's negative and they run with it. And then they take something when it has to do with, okay, well, yeah, Trump is supporting his people and he's making them feel good. And I tell them, like, well, this isn't a football game. You know, we all feel good at the end of a football game because your team won, but Trump team won 4 years ago. And we see how the last 4 years went. So we have to think logically.
I think, you know, generations, you know, I'm not disagreeing with you. I feel he speaks to you more than he speaks to me as a young African American male in America, seeing what's going on. So I just, if you're going to speak to one, you should speak to all. Not saying I don't believe he can do it, he can't do it, or he can do it. I just want to see more of it.
Mm-hmm. Justin, Serena, and Sean, I don't know how old you all are, but I'm 28. I'm a proud millennial. And when I hear Joe Biden, I think he does speak to me. So I hear him. And I think for our generation right now, for the young people on this call and in America, this is the opportunity for us to decide who we are and who we are going to be. This is it right here. It's too important for us to miss and for us to get it wrong. Way too important. So we need to all get on the same page. We don't all have to agree on everything, but I think we can agree that we have to get 45 out, and we'll get Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in, and then we will hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
We won't stop
That
there.
was beautiful. Mm-hmm.
We have to continue, but we have to get 45 out. That's step one. Can we get an agreement on that? So we have to register.
We can all agree on that.
Well, yeah.
We have to register. We have to do our research. We have to vote for president and down the ticket. We cannot get this wrong because it's our children, our grandchildren that's going to take the weight of this decision.
And you have to realize that your vote is all you have. That is your power. And you have to tell your friends, everyone needs to vote. You can't complain that George Floyd died at the hands of a police officer if you don't vote. You can't complain. You can't complain about anything if you're not voting. You can have an opinion. You cannot be happy about it. But if you're not voting, then you're just as much of a part of the problem as anything.
The silence, yeah.
Great conversation though, honestly.
So I just want to add, this is Linda Gray. Only thing I want to add, I've listened to a lot of conversation, very good dialogue, and it's always important to hear why other people feel the way that they do. And I'm so happy that you all were very candid in sharing all of that information. But I did hear a couple people say, like, my vote doesn't matter. Does it matter? And we've been talking about doing research. So if you go back and look at the last election, there's states where, just like we talked about the popular vote versus the electoral college, there's states where if we had voted like we did when President Obama was elected, we would have had a different result. And so if each one of us left this call and said, I'm not going to vote, my vote doesn't matter, think about where we would be if we keep doing that. And I know one of you said that you weren't sure if you were registered. I think it was it you, Justin? I'm not sure. Someone said they wasn't sure if they were registered.
Oh no, I'm registered. It was Sean.
Okay, Sean. So we have people working in kind of every state. So we can help you get on the web and basically look up all of the information because there are deadlines. Every state has different rules that govern deadlines, that govern if you vote by mail, if you go in person, if you vote early. So we can make sure that you get that information first and foremost, because part of it is a trick to set you up so that it seems too complicated to do. It's not complicated. You are in a swing state at that. You're in North Carolina, which is a swing state, meaning it can go Democratic or Republican. So it's very important that your vote is counted. So we want to make sure that you understand that this group can be a resource to you. If there's information that you need to get, you can get that from from this form. Ron is in touch with all of us. Ron is, a big part of the group. He invited all of you all here. So if there's any information that you need, we are really without excuse. We also are doing research to try and help out. Angela's very involved and engaged in
I sent you the link.
Oh,
I already sent you the link.
See, she already sent the link. So this is a form where you can get the help that you need. But at the end of the day, I think we said earlier, and Ron said, whatever your option, not voting is not an option, because we just had too many people that fought for that right. And as Angela said, if we keep going the way that we're going, we could end up not even have voting rights. So we can't take that for granted. But the first step is what we've talked about. And then, as Lena said, then you have to start holding people accountable. So it's not enough to march now and then later, someone's in office and then it's like we sit here for another 4 years. So the vocal nature that you have, we have to continue to have that and hold people accountable. So that's what I would add.
I do want to say that this conversation was very, very productive for me. When you guys were talking about Joe Biden's platform, I actually went onto the internet to look it up. And a lot of the points that Justin, Sean, and I were talking about, he is actually talking about fixing. He has a plan to help Black small businesses and entrepreneurs, and to fix immigration, and his plan for veterans and military families, for him to have like I was saying, childcare. It actually sounds pretty good, and I was not aware of that before this conversation.
Take all of our news from social media. We can't get everything from Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes you got to look a little further and get some more information.
Absolutely.
I just want to applaud. I want to applaud the other people for coming on, because it does take a lot of courage, and I think we need to have more dialogue like this in our community. Because again, like I said, I just happened to talk to a young person, and they told me they weren't voting, and it's like, you want to know why, because you make the assumption that everybody is going to vote, but just understand that your vote is your power. And once you vote, you hold those candidates accountable. This is your country. This is just as much your country as it is theirs. So thank you for being open and honest with us. I appreciate it.
And thank you, guys.
Lena, you want to say anything?
I just want to thank everyone for getting on the call. I thought the conversation was incredibly productive. I hope that everyone makes sure that they're registered and that they vote. And bring your friends too. Don't just vote alone. Bring people with you. Tell them about Biden's platform as well, so everyone's on the same page. Like I said, this election is too important to miss. This is our opportunity. Thank you so much.
This message has been brought to you by the National Black Leadership and Empowerment Project.